I would like to start by saying I appreciate everybody that comes to this link and gives me the opportunity to share with you this that I call my revelation and or testament. Some of you may have a hard time accepting what I'm about to say. Some of you may not even understand what I'm about to say. At any rate, I appreciate you coming, and I hope when you're done, you've gained something from this. So, here we go. The only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture a little past them into the impossible. Written by Arthur C. Clarke. Now, as you read this, try to venture onto that path and open your mind and hearts to the knowledge I'm about to share with all of you. The following is for the most part my own ideals and revelations that I've come to conclude over all my lives and their journeys. Some are things passed on to me, or things I've read along the way that have struck the chords of truth as I perceive them to be. I'll start by saying that all of us, every living entity that exists in our universe and beyond, is one form of energy or another. Energy cannot be stopped. Energy cannot die or be destroyed. It can be transformed, certainly, to something more or less powerful. It can be transformed to a higher or lower level of intellect, but once created, energy is eternal. So each of us and every living thing around us shall be eternal. From when we stepped out of infinity to the finite, from out of time into time, we have no memory of our own creation, but of the suddenly existing and filled with elation. We are all here for a reason, besides that to simply exist. Our lives in time must be well lived to ensure that we live or exist again outside of time. All of you have a belief in God or some form of higher power. I do not want to delve into that which is such a political topic, but in respect to God and all the books that make up the Bible, it is said we are made in His image, and so the majority thinks that to mean our humanoid form. Yet, He is alleged to be the creator of all. So why do we presume that he or she would favor one of his or her life forms over another? Vanity? Perhaps. Arrogance? Brought forth by the fact that in our human form we are the dominant species? Almost certainly that is the case. Yet does it not also say that He created all things equal? There is quite obviously some contradiction there, is there not? Allow me to offer a probable solution to that and many more contradictions and questions people have. Is it not more feasible to believe that God, Him or herself, is an energy that exists outside of time, in the infinite or eternal planes? That He or she has no real sense of what we here in time know as finite or time? And were that the case, then yes, all life would then be created in His image. Would it not? And so too would not all life, all of creation, in fact, be equal. In the sense that we and every other living thing in our universe is quite simply energy. Please bear with me, and I am not intentionally trying to offend anyone and their beliefs. But it cannot be helped, as what I am going to share within these pages has direct relations to people's belief system, and shall give a new revelation to consider. And I do mean consider. I beg any who read or hear this, do so with, again, an open heart and an open mind, and don't just exclude these ideals because society dictates one should. Over and over again throughout the Old and New Testament it's said, reborn, reincarnated, and born again. Jesus Himself rose again after 3 days, and He appeared before all His disciples in His human form, before transforming into a bright light and ascending into the heavens. Why then, I ask, is it so hard, if you believe in God, Jesus, and the words of the Bible, to believe that we too are reborn, reincarnated, and born again? But even before then, did Jesus not take Peter, James, and John high upon a mountain, and was said to transform into a bright light, and then Moses and Elijah appeared and talked to Jesus? Could a bright light be best to describe a pure form of energy? So then Jesus shared with us our true form. You will hear, but you will never understand. You will see, but never know what you're seeing. The hearts of the people have become stubborn. They can barely hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes, otherwise they might see, they might hear, and they might understand with their hearts. Isaiah chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. I will open my mouth and tell stories. I will speak about things that were hidden since the world was made. Psalms chapter 78, verse 2. Continuously references are made about our eyes, ears, mind, and most importantly, I feel, our hearts. Finally, I'll bring my last references from the Bible in the words of Jesus before bringing to light my revelations of which I previously spoke and the reasons for this testimony of mine. Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. Don't keep them away. The kingdom of heaven belongs to people like them." Matthew chapter 19, verse 14. What I am about to tell you is true. You need to change and become like little children. If you don't, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Matthew chapter 18, verse 3. Now, any of you who know me, I am by no means a Bible thumper, and I've certainly not spent this life living in all the ways the Bible speaks. In fact, I've lived a good portion outside the Bible, and yet not at the same time. I've always been quick to help another, whether it's stranger or friend. I've always been one to give those who are in real need help. I've always taken special care to look out for and include the children and to try and teach them. Not just children. I've spent countless time trying to teach and educate anybody showing the desire to learn. Why do you suppose we must be like the children to reach heaven? Our children, for the most part, not humble from birth. We are doing what? Learning, gathering information, striving to be more. Kind-hearted and sharing, children are in a constant state of learning, and with that comes the ascension of maturity and growth. That is why we are here. That is how we will get back to where we came. But as adults, we lose sight of that. We are no longer focused on ascension as much as that of survival. That is where society and the world we've transformed, or created, if you will, for ourselves, has taken away our will to be. There are some out there who know more intimately of the things I'm sharing. I call them familiars. To any of you out there, I say, 1. This world we've made along our way has become completely chaotic, and though everyone has to become of their will and way, do we not owe it to our brothers and sisters, to ourselves, to take back that which we are about to lose before it's too late? Certainly we can help more to become aware and give them guidance towards that path. And 2, may all your travels be like that of the warrior who knows his or her purpose is in the now. Remember, the mind is your most valuable tool or weapon, but like any weapon, it has its faults. For we are not yet perfect, and so it can be turned against you by such simple of means, and hence become your worst enemy. Napoleon once said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Finally, I think it was Maraboli who wrote, "If you hang out with chickens, you're going to cluck, and if you hang out with eagles, you're going to fly." We, as familiars, are like eagles, and I fear the time has come for us to hang out with the chickens, so that they too may learn to fly. Now, long before this became such a coined and popular phrase that I say has been cut short, a very important person in my life told me at a very young age while fishing at Strawberry. He said, "Boy, I want you to listen and listen close. If ever you remember anything at all, remember this. Knowledge is power," and he gave me a conspiratorial wink, "and one can never have enough power." No sooner than he finished the word power, his pole bent and tugged like crazy. When he brought that fish in, it was the biggest I'd ever seen. And he went into how, without his knowledge, he'd never have been able to catch and control that fish. But big as that beauty was, it had great knowledge to survive so long. But it gave up its power to us, by being tricked into thinking something was not as it appeared to be. Then, much to my dismay, he let that big cutthroat go. Now, as much as I'd like to say the prodigy child that I was meant to be understood all the profound messages given to me right then, no, indeed I did not. Had I, boy, I could have saved myself and those who were closest to me a lot of headache and grief. While it had its fun times and wild times, scary times and sad times, and a whole lot of lonely times, here it is, 40 years later, I can say, hey, I finally get it. Even as smart as society claimed me to be, I tell you, I am as dumb as they come. And who knows, maybe I still don't get it. But I figure I'm as close as I'll ever come during this phase of my journey. And here it is. Although, or always the eyes see more than the mind can comprehend, and so we go through our journeys self-blinded to much that lies before us. We want to be in a simple world, but we live or exist in a magnificently complex universe. For most of us, it is easy to forget that each of us, down to the very core of our energy, more commonly referred to or known as life, is the sum of our experiences of both past and present. Not in the Freudian sense that we are victims of them, that shall come later, but in the sense that we rely on our experiences as the primary source of our knowledge or wisdom. In doing so, at decision points in life, a person is guided mostly by the lessons of one's past, therefore allowing us to be easily fooled into thinking something is, when really it's not. Furthermore, allowing us to take people, things, time for granted, to forget that we must seize our lives while we still can, to be humble and grateful for what we do have, because we never know how much life we have left. Don't give the power of your life, your world, your universe over to another. Do you really want to be controlled or led along like that fish? Putting your whole existence to another's choosing? Hell no. I think it was Ralph Emerson who wrote, "Without ambition, one starts nothing. Without work, one finishes nothing. The prize will not be sent to you. You have to win it." So instead of sitting around and complaining about your life and wishing it was easier, maybe you ought to instead wish you were better, and then work to make your wish come true. So many of you will live this whole life and never be awake. Why? Mostly because of fear. One of the most inspirational speeches given by one of our once great nation's presidents was from T. Roosevelt, during which he said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." No one could have said it better, at least been more correct in that statement about fear. Know this to be as certain as the sun shall rise tomorrow. Today is today, as tomorrow will soon become, for there are an infinite tomorrows, is there not? And long before you, I, or anyone can see the light, we have to deal with the darkness. You can never deal with or overcome to better describe it, anything that we are afraid of. Your fears are not unbreakable walls. Instead, see them as simple hurdles. With a little courage and a little faith in yourself, you can cross over them. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the way of conquering it. So I encourage all of you to stop being afraid of what you may find. Night needs day, light needs dark, good and evil, yin and yang. This is not new to any of you. There is a hero in all of us, but that part of you simply can't exist without a villain. Stop denying that it is another part of you, another force of energy, and it lives in all of you. I'm not sure where or who it was that said this first, but the greatest trick the devil ever did is convince the world, he doesn't exist. So to deny that evil dwells inside is giving it power over you to being or doing someone or something the you we are meant to be, never would. You give it power to steer you down the dark path and away from the light or the way of true becoming. He instills the fear of death, and why do we fear death? Because it's the great unknown? Because we are afraid to face judgment? Fear of being denied entrance to a destination known as heaven? How very rich are God's wisdom and knowledge. How he judges is more than we can understand. The way he deals with people is more than we can know. Romans chapter 11, verse 33. What if it is God? What if it's not God who is our judge? Who better to judge you and your life than you yourself? Because while you can lie or deceive another, you can't yourself. You may find this hard to believe, even those of you who are the most faithful of God's and man's laws. But your mind is the devil's playground, and from there he plays on your fears of darkness and denial that he is a part of you. In the end, you have to choose whether or not to trust in yourself, someone, or something. And so when you can no longer trust your mind, when it is creating trouble, it's time to come back to the body and your heart. Your heart will never lie or deceive. Your heart cannot be corrupted. It is your higher power. This is the Holy Spirit that truly exists in all of us. The heart is your safety valve, so to speak, and the trick in all this is knowing which one to listen to. You recall my having previously stated the mind is your greatest tool, but also your worst enemy. The darkness will try and cloud your mind from your heart. But if you feel with even a portion of your life's energy, you'll get an honest judgment from your heart as to what each and every action you make is right or wrong, good or evil, light or darkness. So your fear of death is not warranted, and I'll show you why. How many of you have memories of certain events or a knowledge of a certain time, events, work, that you couldn't and shouldn't possibly know because they're from an era or past beyond your current phase or life now? Knowledge you've never learned, studied, seen, talked about, or anything in those regards. And yet your memories or knowledge are right, true, and accurate. So where did these memories or this knowledge come from? There's only one possible answer, whether you want to believe it or not. It all comes from past lives or journeys that is carried over in our brains and stored in the 90% of the brain we don't know how to use, and for good reason. As certain as we cannot control our destiny, neither are we meant to know it. And while we cannot use that 90% on any kind of cognizant level, we can and do access it. Us familiars know of exactly that which I am speaking. And we travel through the deep recesses of our minds, for some, at will. And we can view certain experiences from our past lives' journeys with precision. Some, obviously, with better control or precision than others, because they're on a higher plane of existence in time than others. We are all able to travel all of existence in both past and present. Once you gain a level of focus through meditation that is complete and unrestrained. Case in point, ever experienced what is called deja vu? Of course you have. All of us have. I apologize as I'm not on a plane that I can define that access as it is on a level I have yet to attain. That is controlled journeys into one's future. But it's very real, is it not? While you may not have a long-running memory of the specific event occurring, your body and mind are experiencing the clairvoyance of familiarity. And even part of your life's energy is saying, hey, I've been here before. I've done this exact thing with these people at this place, etc., etc. But your 10% is saying, I know I've never done, been, seen, met this before. So what the hell? I already know you're asking, how? We define these travels as dreams. First of all, let me just tell you, there are no ordinary moments from the very beginning of your existence. Every spider web of choice is played out into an infinite number of possible universes, and they are all kept in that 90% of the brain. Let me ask you this. Ever have a dream that while in it, you'd have bet your life it was real? So real that you could smell the aromas, taste, hear, every nuance? And of course you're seeing it. But here's the big one. You actually feel its texture or its pain or emotions. Everything about it seems so real. Well, surprise, it is. It was, and it will be, in the past, present, or future, in time. Who can say it is or isn't? Oh, there are those out there who could, and not only could, but could prove the truth behind the claim. And to those, if any should read this or hear this, I implore you to come out and support my revelation with that proof. Our world has nearly reached a point of no return, and the losses are now becoming too great. What is hidden will be seen, and what is out of sight will be brought out into the open and made known. Luke chapter 8, verse 17. Everything that is secret will be brought out into the open. Everything that is hidden will be uncovered. What you have said in the dark will be heard in the daylight. What you have whispered to someone behind closed doors will be shouted from the rooftops. Luke chapter 12, verses 2 and 3. Am I crazy? Maybe I am. Should I be keeping all this to myself? Maybe I should. Am I violating some cosmic rule of existence? The rebel in me says, I hope so. It is said we are born to die. I disagree. While it is true, everything that's born dies, death is merely a new beginning. I say we are born to live. For life is a journey, not a destination. And it's the journey that brings us happiness, not the destination. As we are not meant to know our own destiny, the seasons do not push one another, and neither do the clouds race the wind across the sky. All things happen in time, in their own good time. Too many people want to rush into the future, make things happen, control their destiny. Really, all they're doing is missing out on what's right in front of them, what's right inside of them, who's in front of them, and who's in them. So much of life is spent in the search for happiness, when the truth is, if you don't get what you want, you suffer. If you get what you don't want, you suffer. Even if you get exactly what you want, you still suffer, because you can't hold on to it forever. I, along with most of you out there, can attest to that fact. Our life's journeys take us down and present to us numerous paths, and all of us search for the path that will bring us happiness, love, and peace. In those lines, too many of you feel one needs a reason to be happy, and sadly for that, they may never know true happiness. You must be happy now, without reason, or you may never become to be at all. I'm sorry, but the reality is, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. There is no path to love, for love is the path. And there is no path to peace. Peace lies in the path. I regret having wasted so much of this life's energies on all the wrong things. While those who know me would say I'm a really nice guy, they would also say I am a really bad guy. I've hurt a lot of people on this journey and journeys past. Most I felt were deserving of my judgment, but not all, and I shall infinitely carry that cross, as all of you have your own crosses to bear. To recap for a moment, did any notice that when I was describing our dreams, that during said dream state, all 5 of our senses were in play? Not just the 5, but our 6th sense, that it is debated if it truly exists. Yes, it absolutely does. It's that sense that tells us we are safe, or we are in danger, that what we are engaged in is good or bad, whether someone is being honest or deceitful towards us. It's our mind and the work of darkness that keeps us from trusting or listening to that 6th sense. From allowing that 6th sense to become fully awake, as are the 5 senses. Why? Well, if that sense came to fruition, his job would be near impossible to maintain, and it would lose its stronghold over all of us. Sheep, if you will. But the time will come for that tree to bear its fruit, and then all of us can see the darkness for what it is, and so may lose our fears of the unknown, and conquer the dark, so we can mature through our lives and reach a level of awareness and purity of energy that we too may ascend into what's defined as heaven. But I say it's out of time and back into eternity that is promised us. Now along our journeys, we all make connections with others' life energies. And just as in anything else, these connections are both positive and negative. Most everyone defines these connections as a soulmate. However, I prefer to call them a soul bond. The reason for that is mate would defer a singular and two of the opposite sex. Discounting, of course, those of you out there who may not be heterosexual. But the fact is, we create and experience multiple times throughout our journeys a bond, and also with both sexes. Now these bonds, once established, are everlasting, and we will continue to connect over one another's paths throughout all of our lives until whence we all attain that level of self-worth and awareness that we are no longer bound by time and become eternal. How many of you out there, just in this phase or life, since most of you reading or hearing this, are still only cognizant of only this journey? How many have met a person for the first time and you just had or wanted to have and be a part of one another's life as a friend or even more? I mean an instant connection with nothing more than a glance. And of course that friendship came to be, or the even more. You not only think but feel to the center of your energy that you are safe. You're in good company. Just being next to this person you feel charged up, upbeat, where you may have been sad, lonely, anxious, etc., etc. And this person comes around and you feel better, more alive, positive. And for the most part, your friendship continues on in that fashion. Maybe even just in passing and a shared hello or a simple smile, and you feel something. You can't explain it, it just is. You get the strange feeling you've known each other your whole life, but you know you haven't at the same time. That's because you are familiar to one another's energy signature, and you've met before, maybe 100 befores. Who knows? The girl or guy you fell in love with and vowed forever. Remember, here in time, we can't keep anything forever. And so we move from one soul bond to another, certain each time this is the one. The change comes from that bond having something each one needs for this moment, this path, and then you part so that each can join with the next energy we need for the path we are traveling in, this phase of our journey. Does that make sense? So while you're growing together, you're also growing apart. If you understand this, then instead of being hurt, angry, betrayed, heartbroken, when it's obviously no longer a good relationship, thank one another for this time you shared and appreciate the time you did have together, and wish one another a happy and safe journey ahead and part as friends and move on. So much energy is wasted in hurting one another. How easily you forget the love you once shared. That you want to hurt each other, make the one or other's life miserable by tormenting or refusing to let go? Why? It's those very things that set you back and not forward, covering yourself in a blanket of darkness instead of light. Cherish all those friends and lovers, more so than you do the material things in life. And just as there are positive connections, there are negative. You meet someone and you take an instant disliking to them. You feel the danger or darkness about that person, even though they've given no reason for you to feel that way, and yet you do. Listen to me. Do not ignore those instincts. Listen to your sixth sense, where both cases are concerned. All I can say is this. You're feeling that because your paths have indeed crossed for better or worse in previous lives. Journeys? Madness, you say? Is it really? Do you believe in a higher power? Do you believe that Jesus lived and was the Son of Man? Do you have faith? Any kind of faith? Let us keep looking to Jesus. He is the one who started this journey of faith, and He is the one who completes the journey of faith. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. God's grace has saved you because of your faith in Christ. Your salvation doesn't come from anything you do. It is God's gift. It is not based on anything you have done. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. So go along with that path for those of you who are on it. It stands to reason why you question death and fear it. However, does it not say, what I am about to tell you is true? The people living now will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words shall never pass away. Luke chapter 21, verses 32 and 33. Which he is speaking of what? The end times, of course, which would mean the end of our life in time. So then why don't you understand and or can't believe you, me, everyone has lived many past lives in time? Jesus was among the earth over 2,000 years ago, correct? Well, I don't know of anyone being that old, do you? Let's go one further here. You were living in your sins and lawless ways, but in fact you were dead. You used to live as sinners when you followed the ways of this world. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. Again, you who know me know I am not a Bible thumper, nor do I attend any church, less that of what I believe in and call a universal life church. While I have many an argument with the churches and the Bible as it was written by man, and well, man can't be trusted, can he? And this book delineates power and control to certain groups of men over other men. Funny how that is. But when one ascends high enough over our journeys, you learn to pick or read, if you will, between the lines, and not just from the Bible, but in all passages of knowledge. And so it's that carries us forward, and we retain what is needed sometimes in small pieces, and other times large chunks from each life we have, until we reach a level of awareness and peace, not just among others, but within ourselves. And that, I believe, is when we get to move from this form of life and in time to a higher life's energy and out of time into eternity. Madness? Maybe, maybe not. But I can and am here to bear testimony that I personally have very detailed memories from past lives and times. I personally have ascended to a level of meditation that I can travel among those varying paths and journeys. Now, to those of you in that don't believe in a higher power, Jesus, or faith, I say or challenge you on that here and now. In that I ask only this. From what you've read or heard so far, how many chords of truth have struck you in your senses, emotions, heart? How much of what I've written can you personally relate to? Maybe you didn't recognize it at the time, but flashes of those times played across your mind as you read or heard certain passages here. Any of you out there who are saying, none, nothing, nada, well, I say you're a liar. And I'm sad for you, because all that says to me is you're a very long way away from where it is life is meant to take you, and you're not living in darkness. No, my friend, you are completely in the dark. Zig Ziglar wrote, lack of direction, not lack of time, is the problem. We all have 24 hours a day. I implore you to go back to the beginning of this revelation and start reading or hearing or listening again. And maybe you'll get a fragment of direction. That, after all, is my wish and reason behind writing this in the first place. As children, we have this waking dream of doing great things in life. Well, while we cannot all do or always do that, you can, however, do small things with great love. Hence, why I have always been the one who is willing and does spend so much of my life helping others. They range from simple things to enormous help. But I do it, and even more times than not, at a cost to me, either financially or personally. And I love doing it. Are those things you do with love or care any less important than any idea, invention, action that has made our world better, easier, safer, or the saving of lives or money? You may think so, but the recipient of that small thing, no, it's not. Confucius say, the man who moves a mountain began by carrying away small stones. The smallest gesture of kindness can alter the path of another in such a profound way as to save a life. I don't only mean towards another, but to yourself as well. So, it could not only save a life, it may very well save yours. So be gentle with yourself. Show yourself the same kindness and patience you might show a young child. The child you once were. I mean, heck, if you won't be your own friend, who will be? If you won't love yourself, then how can anyone else? So many attempts at love fail because one or both persons don't know how to love. And not from any lack of efforts, believe that. Sure, they've seen it exist in other people, couples, families, friends, etc., etc., so they know it is, just not what it is. And that stems mostly from the fact they don't love themselves. And that is a subject that I could spend 5 lifetimes doing nothing else but reasoning as to the exactly why that is. So I'll do my best to condense it to the shortest illustration I can. Love. Oh, how many come to mind when I breach this topic of the lack thereof. It truly breaks my heart, and that, as many of you who really know me say I have a heart of stone, is not an easy feat. Now, I've had the honor and privilege, and yes, I believe those are the best terms to describe them, of meeting and sharing, albeit some too brief, moments of this journey with the most amazing, beautiful, angelic women inside of each is a heart of gold. Yet, they don't view themselves as they certainly could, and definitely should. But because of past experiences from childhood, and their upbringing, and that low level of self-esteem, carrying over into the relationships they engaged in with men whom only darkness dwelled, causing even more damage. The wrongs they were subjected to over and over are sickening and unfair, and any of you out there whom can relate to what I just wrote, please hear me. I am sorry for what you've been through. I am sorry that any man or woman felt it was okay to mistreat another person in such demoralizing, degrading, disrespectful, and cruel a manner, especially when all that person sought was love, kindness, understanding, and most of all, trust. Even worse, when as a parent, you perpetrated all that evil upon your children. To all the victims out there, these wrongs were wrought upon you from such an early beginning of your energy's existence, you can't begin to understand why you keep turning to or find yourself placed upon these paths. History, all history, truly repeats until such an overwhelming thirst for change allows us within ourselves to retain the knowledge from your past to steer onto a better future. So please, believe me when I say it was not your fault. Your power was taken from you before you even knew you had it. And until you truly have the power to say no, then you never truly have the power to say yes. It is these circumstances for which Sigmund Freud meant when he said we become victims of our previous life's experiences. I defer back to say again, knowledge is power, and you can never have enough power. To all of you out there, I beg your attention, and to these in particular, Becca, Michelle, Artis, Sheila, Carrie, Lillian, Jenny, Tina, Brandy, Ashley, Crystal, Janet, Little Troubles, Adelie, Kiona, Mary. You all know who I'm speaking of. Some were lovers, some were friends, and some were both. A couple of you were some I've spent a short time around, and yet I've seen you in ways you wouldn't be able to understand yet. But in you all, I've seen and felt your pain. Some trusted enough to share it openly, and I pray you don't see this in any way a betrayal of that trust. I've only mentioned you here to really grab your attention to what I'm about to say. First, I love you all in varying degrees and ways, and I hope that you find in this revelation of mine the knowledge to attain the peace inside you need to stop the darkness and end the suffering. Your intellect, beauty, and potential is mind-boggling. If only you could uncover your heart and see. Yet you continue to let the fear of the past color your future. You need to understand that responsibility is a grace only you give yourself, not something another can put on you. Hear me, please. It wasn't your fault. But by allowing all the darkness that was, has, and is unjustly wrought upon you to continue to steer your life, to set the path you journey in this life and those still to come. You're giving the past control of your future, and therefore your history shall continue to repeat itself, and you are missing the light that you truly deserve. The light we all deserve. You should not, no, you cannot continue to compromise your self-worth, your self-respect for another's love. Let them keep their so-called love in order that you can keep your worth and respect. Listen closely now. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that you are the one who decides when the situation is finally over, you cannot and will not move forward. Stop wasting your life's energy struggling on the old. Instead, focus that energy on building the new. To all of you out there, I'll share a little secret, or should I say another secret. The secret of happiness, you see, is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. A person or warrior, for that is truly what we all are, struggling in the war between good and evil, light and darkness, right and wrong, life and death. You should never give up or turn away from what you love. No, you should instead find the love in what you do, who you are, where you are. Helen Keller wrote, "Although the world is full of suffering, it's also full of the overcoming of it. Every day you should strive to be better, yourself, your life, and the lives of all those around you. Stop the torment from your past guiding how you think and feel about yourself and others. Don't settle for what society deems you to have. Don't compromise your life's energy for any reason, person, place, or thing. For it's that very compromise that will keep you from getting where you really belong. Every day that you wake up, is it not really a wonderful day? Every day that you live with purpose is a day worth living. For without a purpose outside of merely existing, you're not living. Again, we are not born to die. Neither are we born to simply exist. We are born again and again to live. Every time you see yourself reflected back to you, there is a reason behind it. Remember, there are no ordinary moments. That reason is in the very word itself, self-reflection. It's there so you can see and tell yourself, because I am worth it. Now, think about this. How many times in a day do you catch a glimpse of your reflection? Not just in a mirror, but on any surface. You would be surprised on the true number if you really paid attention and caught each one. We are given those why we are given those in such great numbers to strengthen ourselves against the darkness that wants you to instead believe in all that's wrong in our world. All the ugly society has placed in front of you. Such a simple thing to do, really. It requires minimal time and effort in the grand scheme of things. 5 little words. Because I am worth it. Every time you see your reflection, and I promise you, it will change you, and in doing so, change your life. But you can't just say it to say. At first, maybe okay, but you must and will soon believe it. Life comes at us in waves. We cannot predict or control those waves. However, you can learn to surf instead of being tumbled blindly along through life. As the surfer prepares for their next radical wave, so should you try to prepare yourself for the riotous and endless waves of transformation. I think it was Epictetus who said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." While it's not always an easy journey, it's a journey worth suffering because, yes, you are worth it. And when the time comes, someone tries to say or make you think and believe differently, just smile inside and tell yourself, and them if it's safe to do so, I'll decide. Evil itself is a relentless force, but love too is relentless. Friendship is a relentless force. Faith is a relentless force. The human spirit, or Holy Spirit, is a relentless force. The human heart outlasts and can defeat even the most relentless forces of this world, and that is time. I must apologize for the length of this, my revelation, as I came to decide to write this, for my path brought me to this crossroad. As I prepared to move on to my next level of what I'm sure is going to be a higher level than that of this life's journey and previous lives. Before I give a kind of summary to these pages, I would like to say now my farewells to some people who have shared this journey and came to have a soul bond. To my dear friend, Tim Lupe Lopez, I hope you prepared a spot for me, brother. I'll be there soon. To Kirk, my cousin, I love you. I've missed you, and I can't wait to see you. Grandma, Grandpa, I'll never forget all the little things that you've done for me, and I'm sure our paths will cross again. Just know that I love you, and I miss you. Susan Giroux, Carrie, little one, Becca, Artist Ryrie, Tim Paget, Michelle Paletta, Sheila O'Brien, Tommy Atkinson, Andy Arvidsson, Stephen and Monica Reed, Lillian, Peaches Cruz, Brandy Renatches, Ashley Little Troubles Luna, Destiny and Mandy Morfin, Tiffany, Amy, and Landon Cottom, Larry and Jennifer Cottom, Ben and Vicky Valdez, the Allreds from K-Town. I love you all, and I shall miss you all so very much. Even though some of you I've not been in contact for years, you're still very much a part of my memories and heart. I wish all of you the most of what life can give you, and though I pray it's not for decades more, I know we will meet again. And an extremely special goodbye goes to the two most important women of my life. Mom, you are the greatest person I've had in my whole world, and I love you with all my heart and soul. Thank you for always being there and loving me even when it wasn't easy to do, and when everyone else had turned away. I know you're on a straight line to eternity, for you truly are an angel. I love you, and I'll miss you. I'll miss you more than actually living. I could never repay you for all of the generous and sweet and kind things and words you have always shared with me. In your eyes, I seen true love, the love of a mother for her child. I'll see you when you get there, Mom. Goodbye. And to John Phillips, oh man, I already miss you and I'm not even gone. I love you as no other person ever can or will. You're an amazing woman, mother, lover, and friend. I feel blessed to have been a part of your journey, and I know our paths will connect again. You are more precious than any stone, worth more than all of the gold in the world, with a heart to match. Thank you, my friend. Take care. And I wish you a long and peaceful journey. Until next time, I love you forever. Now, to summarize, so you all can go back to your journeys. Life has 4 rules, essentially: knowledge, paradox, humor, and change. First, knowledge is power, and you can never have enough power. Second, the paradox is that life is a mystery, so stop wasting precious time trying to figure it out. Third, keep a sense of humor, especially about yourself. It is a strength beyond all measure. Fourth is change. Change is a constant state of the world and yourself. Remember, nothing ever stays the same. Everything you'll ever need to know is within you. The secrets of the universe are imprinted on every fiber of your existence, all of which will be made clear to you in time, so you can ascend out of time and into eternity or heaven if you so choose to label it as such. Where are you? Here. What time is it? This moment. Now. What are you? Worth it. What is leads to what will be, and all will be well if you do what is right. How do you know if it's right? Look within, listen to your heart, and hear your Holy Spirit. Never fear the future. Never fear death. Whatever happens has already happened, and the future is your only way back. Back to where we once came from and belong forever. The future is the one path you can never control. You'll never stop. You'll never know. You're not meant to. No matter which path you choose to follow, it still leads to the future, and it's the only path that will eventually take you out of time into eternity. Me, I am but a farmer planting a seed. A farmer went out to plant his seed. He scattered the seed on the ground. Some fell on a path. People walked on it, and the birds ate it up. Some seed fell on rocky ground. When it grew, the plants dried up because they had no water. Other seed fell among thorns. The thorns grew up with it and crowded out the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, and it grew up and produced a crop 100 times more than the farmer planted. Luke chapter 8, verses 5 through 8. Some of you reading or hearing this will sadly be like the path, and some of you will be like the rocky ground. More of you will be amongst the thorns. But if even one of you is the good soil, then I have accomplished my vision as a child and done a great thing, for my seed is the mustard seed. It is like a mustard seed, which is the smallest of all seeds on earth. But when you plant the seed, it grows. It becomes the largest of all garden plants. Its branches are so big that birds can rest in its shade. Mark chapter 4, verses 31 through 32. I hope by all who read or hear this, you are lifted to a higher plateau of existence, that in my words you find the very thing we all seek, ourselves. Much love and respect, LJ, a.k.a. Big Papa Bear. Okay, well, that's it. I appreciate your time. I didn't know it was going to take quite this long. I hope that you have gained something from this, and that you really, truly consider the things that I've said. Some of you may have noticed that in my goodbyes I did not include my family, and that's because my family said their goodbyes to me when I was in prison. So, with all that said and done,